And off to Tanzania, as official results released on Saturday shows that Tanzanian incumbent President Samia Suluhu Hassan has won a landslide election victory after key candidates were jailed and barred from a vote that has triggered days of violent protests. Her win comes after her key opposition figures were jailed or barred from participating, sparking days of violent protests. Reports suggest that hundreds of people may have died during demonstrations as crowds clashed with police and security forces, prompting a nationwide curfew and internet blackout. The main opposition party, Chadema, and rights groups have condemned the vote, citing widespread repression. The UN has expressed deep concern over casualties and unrest. Hassan, who became president in 2021, has yet to address the situation publicly. Global Affairs analyst Levi Mboushou joins me now. Levi, the scenes we're seeing out of Tanzania is heart-wrenching, but somehow the president, there was an election that was held in that chaos, and now the incumbent has now been announced winner, winning a landslide vote. But the elections still sparked violent protests. What do you think caused such widespread unrest despite her win?
Across the region, not only in Tanzania, the issue here is with the electoral process itself that lacks legitimacy. In the very beginning, in the build-up the general elections themselves, we had seen people who were also vying for elections, people who were referred to as heavyweights, were dealt. One key opposition leader was dealt for Chadema. Others were barred from going for the elections. And we even have people, tongues wagging, rumors spreading that even those who were allowed to contend with President Samia Suluhu were political lightweights, and some of them just wanted to come and put up a show or a semblance of democracy, and all what they were doing constituted a mere facade. Once the process is flawed in itself, we can see in the streets of Salaam and across the country how protesters are there. 700 people thereabout are feared dead. All of this is because there is no true democratic process. That's what political pundits say. And if President Samia Suluhu herself would be comfortable and confident on trampling over dead bodies before she gets into State House, then we would say there is a problem with the very democracy that has gone to sleep in Tanzania. So the process itself is flawed. The democratic process, the electoral process itself puts to question the very legitimacy of this government when she would eventually be sworn in.
Right. I have to ask you, right, when we look at the future of opposition across our democracies in Africa, Cameroon is one that comes to mind, just the concluded elections from October 12th, and now Tanzania, the same goes for Cote d'Ivoire. What does this say about the very tenets of democracy, which is opposition itself? If the continual exclusion of them or puppetry oppositions, what happens to our future of Africa?
Democracy would be completely wiped out, because in a very short time, what we have as a semblance of democracy in Africa would have gone to sleep, and then we would find puppet regimes coming up like the ones we had at the dawn of independence, and then before we know it, we would have neo-colonialism, which is an industry that is beginning to creep in surreptitiously back into Africa. It was never completely gone, it was masked, but these days with power mongers, international power brokers, stepping in a very sly manner, almost unnoticed, but present to call the shots in Africa. We've seen it in Cameroon, we've seen it in Cote d'Ivoire, we've seen it in Tanzania, and I dare say that it's not for nothing that these unrest in Tanzania had a spillover effect into neighboring Kenya. People who were angry protesters were already moving in from neighboring Kenya, but that was quelled and squashed by tear gas from policemen on the border. If things continue the way they are, across regional political blocks in Africa, then a time would come when I fear to say that we would go back to what we had in colonial times, where we would begin to have monarchies with facades of democracy, and that is going to be a sorry sight, where unfortunately our leaders don't mind walking and swimming across blood to get to the presidential seat. It's sad enough. Democracy would have no place, and all we would have is this kind of autocracy like we find here. Because I bet you the same thing we find in Uganda, we find in Tanzania. We fear that we might see the same thing in Kenya in the years and months to come. We find in Cameroon, where the question comes to mind, what explains the fact that the same people who voted for you, President Samia is said this morning, it was announced that she was voted 98%. How can 98% of the people vote for you, yet we find this level of carnage, this level of damage in the society?
And we have to take into...
It's unthinkable, I bet you.
And besides just the damage, you also have to think of the lives as well that have lost, not only in Cameroon, but also in Tanzania as well, and the hundreds. What does that say about the future of those countries? Because we know that it's a widely young population, but I wish there was enough time. We do have to go. Levi, thank you for your insights. We appreciate you for coming on. Levi Mboushou, Global Affairs Analyst, giving us a bit of insight following the announcement of the winner for the Tanzania presidential elections.